My dad promised to walk me down the aisle, a promise he'd made since my mother died. Then, 2 weeks before my wedding, he canceled. He chose to attend my sister's career party instead, so I made one phone call and replaced him forever. This is where the story truly begins, and you won't want to miss what happens. Make sure you're subscribed to see it through to the end. We're always curious. Where in the world are you all watching from today? Let us know in the comments. The sterile, bleach-white break room of the pediatric ward was the last place I wanted to have a life-altering phone call. I was 2 weeks from my wedding day, running on 4 hours of sleep and fumes from a 12-hour shift. My scrubs felt plastered to my skin, and my feet ached, but I was smiling. In exactly 14 days, I, Alina, would be marrying Liam, the love of my life. I was scrolling through seating charts on my phone when my dad, Richard, called. "Alina, hi," he started, his voice already laced with that familiar, flustered tone he only used when my sister, Chloe, wanted something. "Listen, something's come up." I felt a cold prickle of dread. "Dad, is everything okay?" "Everyone's fine, it's just about the wedding." I sat up straighter. "What about it? Is your suit okay? Did you book the hotel?" "Well, that's the thing," he stammered. I can't make it." The words hung in the air, nonsensical. I must have misheard him. "What do you mean you can't make it? Dad, you're walking me down the aisle." "I know, honey, I know, but Chloe, she's finally launching her lifestyle brand. It's a huge career party and she's booked this incredible venue and it's on the same day. She needs me there. You know how fragile she is right now. This is her one big shot and I need to be there to network for her." The break room suddenly felt airless. He wasn't joking. He was canceling on my wedding, the wedding he had promised to be at, the walk we had talked about since my mom died, for my unemployed, 24-year-old sister's career party. "Dad," I whispered, my voice trembling, "the wedding is in 2 weeks, the party is the same day." "The same day, same time, what are the odds, right?" he said with a pathetic attempt at a laugh. "Look, honey, you're so strong, you always have been, you and Liam are solid. Chloe, she needs this. Can't you just, I don't know, walk by yourself, or have a friend do it?" The line went quiet as I tried to process the sheer depth of the betrayal. He asked me to replace him as casually as if he were canceling a coffee date. The betrayal was worse than the cancellation itself. I don't remember ending the call. I don't remember walking out of the hospital or the 20-minute drive home. The next thing I knew, I was standing in my own kitchen, my keys still in my hand, tears streaming silently down my face. Liam found me there, his warm, steady hands landing on my shoulders. "Alina, what's wrong? What happened?" When I told him, his face went through 3 distinct phases. Confusion, then disbelief, then a quiet, simmering anger I had rarely ever seen. What?" Liam said, his voice dangerously low. "A party. He's skipping our wedding for a party." "Her career launch," I choked out, sinking onto a kitchen stool. He said she's fragile and that I'm strong. He asked me to walk alone." That night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there, thinking about my mother. She had died when I was 16, and my dad had been my only remaining parent. At her funeral, he had held my hand, his own eyes red-rimmed, and whispered, "I'll be the one to walk you down the aisle, Alina. I'll be so proud. I'll be doing it for both of us." That promise had been a lifeline. It was the one, single, sacred tradition I had clung to. And he had just thrown it away for Chloe, the golden child, who had never worked a day in her life. Liam held me all night, letting me cry, letting me rage. He didn't offer solutions, he just offered support. "Whatever you want to do, Alina," he murmured into my hair. "We can elope. We can postpone. Or we can have the wedding and you can walk alone and you will be the most beautiful, strongest woman in that room." I appreciated his words, but as the sun started to filter through the blinds, my grief began to harden into something else. Something cold and clear. My father and my sister had counted on me being the strong one. They had counted on me absorbing this, as I had absorbed every other disappointment and quietly making do. But in his casual, cruel dismissal, My father had forgotten someone very, very important. My sister, Chloe, was 4 years younger than me, but she had consumed 90% of our family's emotional and financial oxygen for her entire life. While I was working extra shifts as a pediatric nurse to pay off my student loans and save for a house, Chloe was a professional, aspiring something. First, it was an actress, then a musician, then a travel blogger. My father, Richard, funded it all. I had lost count of the boot camps, masterclasses, and networking trips I had watched him pay for. Chloe had a polished, disingenuous sheen. She could cry on cue and knew exactly which buttons to press to make our father feel like her protector. I loved my sister, but I didn't much like her. She had a way of making my accomplishments seem small and dull. My nursing career was noble, I guess, but so depressing. My fiancé, Liam, a brilliant and kind software engineer, was a little boring, isn't he? About a month before the call, Chloe had come over to help with wedding invitations. She'd worn a designer dress, a gift from Dad, and mostly scrolled through her phone. "So," she'd said, not looking up, "is Dad paying for all this, or?" "Liam and I are paying for it," I'd said stiffly. "We've been saving for 2 years." "Oh," she'd looked around my small, clean apartment with a little sneer. "Right. Well, I hope you're not making Dad feel guilty. He's under a lot of stress. My brand launch is taking up a lot of his, capital." She was less a person and more a beautifully packaged void, and my father poured all his hopes and money into her, desperate to see a return. I was the responsible one, the strong one. I was the one who didn't need him. My sacrifices weren't just emotional. I was the one who had co-signed for his car loan 5 years ago when his sales job was shaky. I was the one who had quietly paid for his prescription refills when he was between insurance plans. I had done it all without complaint, assuming that, in the end, family showed up. I had been wrong. I let myself grieve for exactly one day. I cried, I ate ice cream, and I listened to Liam tell me all the ways my father and sister were wrong. Then, the next morning, I woke up with a chilling clarity. My father had made his choice. Now I would make mine. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to plead or send him guilt-ridden texts or ask relatives to intervene. I was not going to play their game. I was going to remove him from the equation. "What are you thinking?" Liam asked, watching me as I sat at the kitchen table, my laptop open. "I'm thinking," I said, my voice steady for the first time in 24 hours, "that I'm done. I'm done being the strong one if it means being the disposable one." I closed the laptop, picked up my phone, and scrolled to a number I didn't call often enough. "Uncle Ben." My uncle's voice, warm and gravelly, came through the line. "Elena, what a nice surprise. Everything okay with the wedding?" My Uncle Ben was my mother's brother. He was a carpenter, a man who smelled like sawdust and integrity. He was quiet, steady, and kind. After my mom died, he was the one who had driven 2 hours to come to my high school graduation. He was the one who'd helped me move into my first apartment, building my bookshelves by hand. He had been a silent, constant father figure, never asking for thanks, just always there. "Actually," I said, and my voice broke, the tears I thought were gone rushing back. "No, it's about Dad." I told him everything. I didn't soften it, I didn't make excuses for my father. I just told him the cold, ugly truth. There was a long silence on the other end. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with an anger that matched Liam's. That absolute, Elena, I am so sorry." "I know," I whispered. "But Uncle Ben, that's why I'm calling. I know it's last minute and there's no pressure, but would you walk me down the aisle?" The sob that broke from him was instantaneous. "Would I?" he said, his voice cracking. "Elena, it would be the greatest honor of my life. I thought you'd never ask." My hand was shaking when I hung up with Uncle Ben. It wasn't just relief, it was resolve. The gaping wound my father had left was now filled. Liam took my hand. "How do you feel?" "Good," I said, and I was surprised to find I meant it. "I feel right. Now there's just one more call to make." I dialed my father's number. He picked up on the second ring, his voice wary. "Elena, look, if you're calling to yell at me." "I'm not," I said, amazed at how calm and cold my voice was. "I'm calling to inform you of a change of plans." "A change of plans?" he asked, sounding confused. "What are you moving the date? See, I knew you'd understand." "No, Dad, the date is the same. The change is that your services will no longer be required." "Silence, my services, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the wedding. I'm talking about you walking me down the aisle. I've made other arrangements. You don't need to worry about it. You're officially free to attend Chloe's party. Have a wonderful time." The sputtering on the other end was almost comical. He went from flustered to full-on indignant in a split second. "Other arrangements? What other arrangements?" "Elena, you can't replace me. I am your father." "You're the one who canceled Dad," I said simply. "I'm just the one who accepted it." "This is ridiculous," he yelled. I could hear Chloe's high-pitched voice in the background. "She's just trying to manipulate you, Daddy. It's so selfish." "No, Dad," I said, standing up. "What's selfish is promising your daughter you'll be there for the most important walk of her life, and then ditching her for a party. I'm not manipulating anyone. I'm just done. I'll see you around, or maybe not. Goodbye." I hung up the phone. I blocked his number. I blocked Chloe's. I had never felt so light in my entire life. The chain that had tethered me to their endless, one-sided drama had just been broken. The fallout was immediate. Within an hour, my phone started buzzing with calls from my father's side of the family. My Aunt Karen was the first. "Elena, honey," she said, her voice dripping with false concern. "Your father is devastated. He said you fired him from your wedding. You know how much he loves you. How can you be so cruel?" "He canceled on me, Aunt Karen," I said, my patience already gone. "He chose a party over my wedding." "Oh, stop being so dramatic," she snapped, her real tone emerging. "It's a 10-minute walk. Chloe's career is important. You're tearing this family apart over a walk." "Thank you for your input," I said and hung up. I blocked her number too. For the next week, Liam and I were a fortress. We turned off our phones at night. We focused on the final details, the flowers, the cake, Liam's vows. With every relative I blocked, I felt another pound of obligation fall away. The case against my father and sister built itself. A cousin on my mom's side, who was still friends with Chloe on social media, sent me a screenshot. It was the digital invitation to Chloe's career launch. It was for a Facebook Live event hosted from my dad's living room. The incredible venue was a lie. "Oh my God," Liam said, looking over my shoulder. "It's not even a real party. He's skipping your wedding to watch her stream on a laptop." It was pathetic. It was so pathetic. 2 days before the wedding, my father, having found his number blocked, sent me an email. "Elena, this has gone far enough. I am your father and I demand you show me respect. I will be at your wedding and I will be walking you down the aisle. Stop this childish tantrum. Your Uncle Ben has no right. I've already told him to back down." My blood ran cold. I immediately called Uncle Ben. "He called you?" "Oh yeah," Uncle Ben said, his voice a low rumble. "Told me I was interfering and trying to replace him. I told him he was the one who abandoned his post and that I was just a volunteer. He didn't like that much. Don't you worry, Elena. I wouldn't miss this for the world. He can show up. He can sit in the back row, but I'm the one walking you to Liam." The day of the wedding was beautiful. The sky was a sharp, clear blue, and the little country chapel was filled with flowers and, more importantly, with people who loved us. I stood in the back vestibule, my dress pooling around my feet. I felt like I was in a dream. My bridesmaids were fussing with my veil, but I only had eyes for one person. Uncle Ben stood there in his new, perfectly tailored suit, a white rose in his lapel. When he saw me, his eyes filled with tears, which made my own start to fall. "You look," he whispered, "you look just like your mother. She would be so proud of you, Elena." "I'm so glad you're here, Uncle Ben," I whispered back, squeezing his arm. The music coordinator signaled that it was time. As my bridesmaids started their walk, I saw my father and Chloe slip into the very last pew. They had come. My father looked furious, his face red. Chloe was staring at her phone. For a second, a jolt of fear hit me. What if he made a scene? Then I looked at Uncle Ben. I looked through the doorway at Liam, standing at the altar, his eyes shining. And I knew what I had to do. I nodded to the sound technician, who held a small microphone used for announcements. "Just one moment," I said, my voice ringing out, clear and steady, quieting the room. The guests turned. My father's head snapped up. "Hi, everyone," I said, smiling. "Before we begin, I just want to say one thing. As you know, my mother isn't here today. The tradition of a father walking his daughter down the aisle was incredibly important to me, as a way of having a piece of her with me." I turned and took Uncle Ben's arm. "That's why I am so honored that my Uncle Ben, my mother's brother and the man who has been a true father to me, is here to walk me down the aisle." I paused, and my eyes found my father in the back row. My own father, Richard, was unable to be here, because he chose to attend my sister's last-minute career party instead. A collective, audible gasp swept through the chapel. My father's face went F. Rom read to Ashen. Chloe looked up from her phone, her mouth open in shock. "But I've learned that family isn't just about blood," I continued, my voice thick with emotion. "It's about who shows up. It's about who loves you when it's not convenient. So thank you, Uncle Ben, for showing up. Now, let's go get me married." The music swelled, and we began to walk. The rest of the world fell away. There was only my uncle's arm and Liam's face waiting for me. The ceremony was perfect. The revenge was complete, but it didn't feel like revenge. It felt like truth. At the reception, Uncle Ben gave his speech. He didn't mention my father again. He spoke about my mother, about her fiery spirit and her deep love for me. He spoke about watching me grow from a heartbroken 16-year-old into a strong, compassionate nurse. And he spoke about Liam and how happy he was that I had found a man who clearly saw my worth. To Alina and Liam, he'd raised his glass, tears in his eyes. "I am the luckiest man in the world to be able to stand in for my sister on this day. I love you both." The entire room was crying. My father and Chloe didn't stay for the reception. I was told they slipped out of the chapel right after the ceremony, their faces like thunder. Later that night, as Liam and I were dancing, I felt my phone buzz in his jacket pocket, where I'd stashed it. I pulled it out to see a text from an unblocked number I didn't recognize, but I knew who it was. It was from my dad. "Party was a bust. Only 10 people came to the stream. Sorry I missed it." I read the text. I felt a small, sad pang of vindication. He hadn't apologized for the choice, only that his own choice had turned out to be a failure. He was sorry he'd missed it, not that he had betrayed me. I looked at Liam, who was spinning me around the dance floor, his eyes full of love. I looked over at the table where Uncle Ben was laughing with my new in-laws. I held the phone, pressed the delete button, and didn't reply. A week later, Liam and I were on our honeymoon, sitting on a balcony overlooking the ocean. My phone was off, locked in the hotel safe. I had a new family now, one built not on obligation or guilt, but on respect and unconditional love. I was finally free.